the 4 victories in a row, and we've talked a lot about what it's kind of taken to get to this point. But after having a chance to kind of go back over the last few games and watch some tape, see what's ahead, just where exactly do you think you are as a team compared to maybe just 2 weeks ago?
I think we're gaining confidence, which is really important. But our confidence is coming because guys are having a better understanding of the process of what goes into preparation and into winning. Right, we were just talking about it as a staff. I think they're really understanding of, hey, this is who we are offensively, and this is how we have to apply it, to this particular team, and the processes that and kind of systems we have in place as a staff to get those guys prepared to do those things for each and every game. I think the guys are really kind of selling out to that, and it's making sense to them, right? And so, whether you're running some of your stuff against a hedge ball screen defensive team or a switching team or drop coverage or a team that's playing zone, all of those things I think is where we've probably simplified some things that we're doing as a staff with these guys, but it's starting to click, and they're gaining confidence and being able to kind of apply that. And so I think those things have really helped with our growth, and then they're starting to see a lot of similarities. There's a lot of reference points, especially as you get into conference play, to say, hey, this is something that we saw Old Dominion do. This is how we defended this, or this is the same action that Arkansas State did, and we either did a good job or we did a poor job with it. So you've got a lot of really good reference points. And once you start to see the progress and you start to see the success, then those reference points have a little bit more power to them, right? Like, hey, we did a really good job in this game doing this. We have to replicate it. This was the one area that we fell short, against Georgia State. We've got to do better with it, things like that. So I think that process is starting to take shape and probably just has a little bit more impact once you see the results that you're winning.
Yeah, and early on, you had a lot of teams that had success against you playing a zone, like you said, or blitzing at Elijah when he gets the ball down low. Obviously, teams haven't been able to just do that recently against you. What kind of specific adjustments did you guys do when that was so successful early on for other teams?
I think with the zone offense is such a it's a team by team thing, right? I think more often than not, my philosophy has always been that you beat zone defense with good players and with good habits and concepts, not necessarily with plays. And so this is a team that was kind of struggling to pick up on some of those concepts and move without the ball, find open areas, make themselves available, all the little nuances that you need to apply against zone. And so we started running a lot more sets, and then we realized they probably weren't great at that, and so we kind of found a middle ground with that to kind of keep their aggressiveness. And it's just a change in the mindset, and I think we've gained a lot more confidence and found some similarities to what makes us a good offensive team against man-to-man. We've been able to apply those and kind of make those synonymous with one another so that we can keep that same aggressive attacking mindset, sharing the basketball no matter which defense we're seeing. So that approach has been better with this team. And then with Elijah, it's all about his patience. I think he's an extremely intelligent player, and when he plays with great pace and great patience, he gets an opportunity to really showcase that preparation that he puts into each game and the basketball IQ as it pertains to attacking blitz coverages and things like that. And so it's just getting him to understand when to slow down, take a screenshot of the court, and then strategically attack, whether it's for himself or for his teammates. But he's certainly growing in that area and getting more confident with it.
And you said on Saturday you don't really talk about the standings or anything like that, but if you look at this one coming up, if you guys win this one, you kind of control your own destiny as far as like maybe getting that mega bye in Pensacola, things like that. Like, do you, I guess, without addressing it with the team, is it something that you think that like maybe people are aware of or kind of like can see like just how the importance of what they've been doing here recently is to get back in that position?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world you'd like to put your blinders on and not think about those things. And so, we don't want to run from the bigger picture things, but at the same time we don't want to draw any more attention to them either, right? And that's the challenge of coaching this time of year and playing this time of year is just being very focused on today, right? And so that'll be a challenge for our guys once we get in the film room today, right? Go back and have some humbling moments from almost 20-point win here at home, and try to just coach ourselves and hold ourselves to a standard and not to a score. And I think moment by moment, when you can do those types of things, it really allows you to stay focused on today, focused on today's practice preparation, and then this opponent, and not think too much ahead of it. Certainly those things are going to be there, right? Our guys are on social media. I always get asked those types of questions, and so I want to give you more than just, hey, we're not thinking about that at all, but it's a challenge, and you got to make sure that you stay in the moment, because otherwise, if you start thinking about the implications of what this game can mean, then you're not going to perform what you need in this game. So we try to just get our guys locked back into what's going to help us win today, help us have the best practice to prepare for the next opponent.
Speaking of Troy, talk about them a little bbit and what stands out when you see them on film.
Yeah, a great defensive team. They play extremely hard. They do a lot of things that in their man-to-man coverage that some of our teams in the past have been able to do. A lot of switching, on ball, off ball, hedging ball screens, being disruptive. Just very impressed with them in terms of their ball pressure and what type of scramble team that they are. And that sounds kind of silly, but I think great defensive teams, they have a willingness to get into scrambles by being disruptive, but they have the ability to get out of them. And I would credit Troy. I think they're the best that I've seen this year at being able to do both of those things. They contest you at the rim. They generate steals. They get a lot of offense off of their defense. And so that's why I talk about how good they are defensively. And so we've got to do a great job as to how we attack, how we take care of the basketball. I think, what we did last week in terms of low turnovers is going to be something we need to highlight for our guys and replicate so that we can make them play in the half court, because I think they're a good offensive team, but I do think they're a better defensive team, and we've got to do a great job attacking that so that we can't give them anything easy in transition. They'll switch up their defenses, right? I think every team in the league other than us is going to play some zone at some point in time, and so that'll be something that, again, going back to what you said, Shane, we've got to do a great job of just keeping that simple, aggressive, attacking mindset no matter what that defense is that we see. But they'll certainly try to throw you off balance with a couple different changing defenses in the full court and in the half court.
Talk a little bit about A.J. Smith. We talked about Eddie last week and how he's been consistent for you, but I think A.J.'s kind of been the same way, and he's not always going to wow you with his numbers, but, man, he always plays hard. He defends, rebounds the basketball. Can you speak just to kind of what you expected from A.J., and is this kind of what you thought you'd get out of him?
It is. It goes back to the reasons A.J. wanted to come here. He wanted to be a part of a winning program. That's what was, he felt like he was missing, and he wanted to. He knew our staff and what we had been able to do in the league that we were sharing, last year. And so he understands what goes into winning, and it's important to him because he hadn't experienced it prior to coming here. And with that comes winning plays like what you're talking about that aren't always going to show up on the stat sheet and impacting the game in a positive way without always scoring, without always, getting assists and things like that. But, he is just such a tough, humble guy, and he really cares about his teammates, and probably whatever you ask him to do to help his team, he's certainly going to be able to do it. And he's got a lot of consistency. We bragged on Eddie last week, and I think, you're right. AJ's right up there in terms of being kind of an everyday guy and, having that fabric, that championship DNA that helps you win that may not be on this stat sheet, but is certainly valued by what we need as a staff and what we need as a team.
And I want to ask you about the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. Obviously, this is your first year dealing with this. You get the game early at home, and now in the middle of a conference race, you have to go play a non-conference game on the road. What are your thoughts on the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, and do you like it? Would you like to see changes?
I'm not sure yet. I understand it. I think it's exciting, and I know that in mid-major basketball right now, leagues like ours and the MAC, we're all trying to find creative ways to increase our net. Just because it's difficult once you get into conference play to really move the needle and jump in the net. It's just hard to do because you're playing against your own league opponents at all times. And so I understand why we have it. I understand the philosophy behind it. I would be interested to see, after a couple years of data, just how much it moves the needle, right? And then, kind of polling coaches from both leagues as to, do we feel like that's worth it in terms of, increasing each of our respective nets. I don't know that I'd like it or don't like it, to be honest. I think it's exciting. It's fun to say, hey, we're going to take a break from conference play and play another quality opponent. Probably knew back in November that we were going to play Toledo, right? I think as you just kind of look and say, last year they played Kent, and then they've had Akron, and then we had Ohio here, and said, okay, who's the other teams that are going to be at the top of their league? And Toledo seems to be the one. And Coach Kowalczyk and I, we were down at the Boardwalk Battle in Daytona in November, and we played two of the same opponents, and we saw each other in the hallway and bragged on each other's teams because we had watched each other briefly in the event that we would play each other. And he said, well, I'll see you in February. And I said, okay, we'll see you then. But he was right. So shout out to him. He had the foresight for that. But no, I think it's exciting. I fully understand why our league does it. I think it's a great idea. I don't know how many years this is now. This is the second year. So probably, worth taking a look at in this offseason to say, hey, did each league accomplish what they were looking for when they put this model together? And if we're accomplishing it, then yeah, absolutely. Let's improve our net and increase the notoriety of both leagues with some matchups like this. So, yeah, I like it.
Promised I'd have some defensive questions for you after.
There you go.
Saturday.
I was going to take that microphone from you if you didn't. So,
well, one of the things throughout with this team that you were able to build throughout the offseason was with length and versatility with guys like AJ, Will, Justin. The list kind of goes on. And with that comes kind of extra help, versatility on the defensive side of things. How have you kind of seen throughout these 4 games maybe having that extra length kind of benefit you guys on the defensive side, and how can you see it continue growing throughout this part of the season?
Yeah, it is a part of who we want to be, and we love size, and versatility, as you mentioned. We weren't always able to accomplish that, right? So if you have an opportunity to recruit some guys who are dynamic like a Mark Freeman, then you'll say, okay, I'll probably sacrifice a little bit of that to get what he can give you. But it does help. It really truly does, because when you've got a guy like Eddie, for example, he can literally guard anyone on the floor. You can put him on the other team's point guard. You can put him on the best shooter. He can rebound, and he can hang in the post and do so many things with different matchups. And then you got guys like Bryce who are really stepping up, and Will has been just terrific. I tell you, I can't brag enough on him. And I'm excited about where he's going to get to. I mean, the kid's barely practiced, right? And so as we're going through things that, the rest of the team has known, and they've kind of built some habits and an understanding of how we're going to conceptually guard things, he's learning them right now. But the difference is he's got a toughness, he's got a competitiveness, he's athletic and versatile enough to erase a lot of the mistakes that he's got right now. But we are starting to see more and more of that, and I think it's just coupled with the understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished defensively, and guys really just kind of locking in game to game as to the nuances and keys to what we have to do for that particular opponent.
Mentioned rim protection. One guy kind of feels like you see every time Ebenezer coming off the bench. It feels like every time he walks in, there's a block or an alley-oop for him. Just coming off with the second unit to kind of have that extra protection down low. How big is that just for players that maybe not have to overly worry about if they blow an assignment, that they have some extra protection?
Well, it's huge, and obviously our guys know that about EB when he's in there, that he can kind of be that eraser, and I think it allows us to maybe, increase some of our aggressiveness. Guys get up and pressure the ball a little bit more because there is a guy back there that can, protect the rim, as you mentioned, and it's such a boost when he's blocking shots, he's erasing mistakes, sometimes getting us out in transition, and then certainly when he's on the receiving end of finishing some of those plays above the rim. We probably should get back to some of those lob plays for him. Those are good-looking plays. We need to do those. I'm glad you brought that up. I'd forgot about them. But no, it gives us a huge boost when he's able to do that, and that's how he impacts the game, right? And so, thankful that he's able to bring that, because blocking shots is not easy, right? There's no drill for teaching guys to block shots. It is a feel. It is timing. Some guys have it, some guys don't, and he certainly has the knack for being able to do that. And so when you've got a player of his caliber that can, impact the game on that side of the ball, it's huge.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Mark, and I meant to ask you on Saturday because that was his 4th straight game with 16 or more points, including all 3 come off the bench. which is pretty remarkable. Just have you, as a coach, have you ever seen a situation where a guy came, a regular starter was asked to come off the bench and then performed this excellently?
Yeah, almost every year, to be honest with you. We've had a guy in my career that we've said, hey, you know what, at this point in the year, I just think it's better for you to come off the bench for whatever reason. And it's hard to maybe put into words exactly what that is because it's different with each team. And it's proven me to be right, made me look good, right, when they come off the bench and they play even better. But, it happens that way sometimes, right? I don't know that starting is a magical thing. Coming off the bench is a magical thing by any means. It's finding the right buttons to push, the right recipe, and mixture of guys at the right time. But that is just a credit to Mark and his response, right? Coming off the bench and playing great, playing his best basketball of the season and maybe even his career right now is a credit to him and his humility and serving his teammates. And so that's been really exciting to see the response that he's had with that.
Just curious, how have you seen the guy's demeanor maybe pick up or lift up during this win streak at all, if at all, and how do you as a coach kind of keep a group level-headed?
Yeah, again, coming in and showing them things that we've got to get better at, also showing them things that we're doing a good job with. I think they've got just more of a kind of a business approach, right? We're still having fun. We're still joking around and doing those things, but you kind of see just the efficiency that our guys are preparing with. They know I'll give you an example. Last Tuesday, the practice that would normally take us 2 hours took us an hour and 35 minutes. And so same exact practice, right? We just had a lot less resets. We had guys a little more focused, a little more locked in, and again, kind of stacking and building on the season of, hey, this is something that we did last week or 2 weeks ago. Let's have that reference point and get better with it. And so that's been encouraging to see because you do have to be efficient as you get down, to the last month of the season. You can't afford to be out there practicing for 2 hours, going over things over and over and over. Your film work has to be able to carry over to the court. And so I think that's where we're seeing our guys really grow is the efficiency that they're able to prepare and go out there and get themselves ready for a game.
I think last Monday we talked about maybe guys getting comfortable and, self-acknowledging themselves. If they make a mistake or picking someone else if they make a mistake. How have you seen kind of Mark, have you seen him change over the years to become more of a leader? Because he's very nonchalant. He's not a rah-rah guy. How do you see him kind of do that?
It's something that we've really worked on with Mark in the 3 years that we've coached him. We felt like that was probably a piece that was missing, from his overall game and his leadership. And, again, to his credit, he had the humility to say, all right, this is something I've got to get better with. Help me. And he's gotten so much better, right? He's intentional about picking up his teammates. We actually keep up with, as silly as it may sound, we keep up with his positive affirmations. It's a stat. It's a legit stat. I won't tell you how many he's supposed to get or who keeps up with it, but somebody is watching that. And we know when he's at his best, when he's high-fiving, picking teammates up, doing all these little things throughout a game, it makes a huge difference for us and for him and how he impacts our team. But he's certainly grown in those areas and realized that he can have a bigger impact on a team other than just, making shots, getting assists, and the things that show up on the stat sheet. That the connectivity that he's responsible for is a load that he needs to carry for us, and he's certainly over the last 3 years grown in that area.
When you put the combination of the three small guards out there with Mark and of course Bryce and then X, when you're putting them in, what's your intent at that particular point, and what are you looking for in terms of a counter from the opposition? When we've got those guys out there, I think we really increase our ball skills, right? You've got three guys that can dribble, they can pass, they can all shoot, stretch the court, they can play in ball screens and make each other better. We know we're probably going to give up a little bit of size and length. We're going to give up rebounding a little bit on both sides of the ball. And so when we do that, we're probably going to simplify what we're doing offensively and let those guys kind of play in more of a free-flowing offense. Sometimes when we see zone, obviously that's a great lineup to put out there. You're not going to be able to run through the full, menu of your zone sets and plays. But again, that goes back to us kind of simplifying what we're doing and allowing them to be good zone players, or allowing them to be good attacking guards and making each other better. So that's kind of what we look for when those guys are in there, knowing that we're probably not going to get as many offensive rebounds, and we may give up a little bit of length in the paint and rim protection and things like that, but it's certainly worth the sacrifice from what you can get on an offensive standpoint with 3 guards out there that can really score the ball.
One more from me then. This week, playing a team from the West in Troy, and then a non-conference game. Does it disrupt your rhythm in preparation? Does it alter that any for you and your staff?
No, I don't think so. I think we had a Wednesday game last week too, right? Was that last week that we had that? So it kind of just speeds up your preparation just a little bit, right? We're still going to have a day in here. I don't know. It'll probably be more like Thursday. That's going to be, really light in terms of what we do. But this time of year, you're going to get the same amount in, over the course of those 6 days. It might change which day you get those things in, and especially when you sprinkle in the travel to a new place, playing an earlier game. I believe we play at 2:00 at Toledo, and it's not an easy place to get to. But I don't think it'll incredibly disrupt us as to what we're doing. You sure? Coach O went for 40 minutes.